Hello everyone and welcome back to my channel. So today I am creating a double page layout featuring the Botanical Textures DSP from Stampin' Up. So as you can tell by the name, this collection has a beautiful botanical feel, but for this layout I'm actually focusing on the B sides of the papers. I just love the look and feel of these patterns. As a boy mom, I always get excited when I see papers like these because they're so versatile. They also have a real masculine vibe. The textural details are so cool, and I love the grayscale tones. They are perfect to pair with so many colors. So for this layout, I'm particularly drawn to these two patterns right here. To add even more texture and color, I'm bringing in this green tone-on-tone DSP from the Seasons of Green and Gold suite. It totally makes me think of the outdoors, maybe even like a football turf. All the items that are still available will be listed in the description box below. Now let me clear away the extra papers and I'll show you what I'm working with. I also pulled out some of my son's favorite colors from my cardstock. Night of Navy, a burgundy, which is a retired Stampin' Up shade, mossy meadow, pebbled path, and of course, black. I might not use all of them, but I want to have them close by for easy access. Now I'm documenting these photos of my youngest son, Evan, riding his motorcycle at home. Do you see our cat, Apples, in this picture? He's the cutest little shadow, always wanting to be part of whatever we are doing. I have a mix of photo sizes, 2 3x4s, a 4x4, and a 4x6. I also printed a tiny 2x2 photo of Apples and another one at 2.5x2.5 of Evan. There's a bit of a story behind these photos, and I'll share more as we go. I think I've got a great starting point here, so I'm going to get a little bit organized and come right back with the base of my layout. I'm starting with basic white cardstock for my base. These are actually my last 2 sheets. Stampin' Up no longer carries the 12x12 size in this color, though you can still get it in 8.5x11. They introduced Willow White a while ago. It's a brighter white. I liked having both options, but honestly, the bright white cardstock looks fantastic too. I chose white because I plan to stamp directly onto the layout, and I just think the ink shows up best on white. At least that's my take. I'm also using a lot of darker shades here, and I think adding a bit of white helps to break up some of these darker colors. For the design, I'm thinking layers, lots of them. The green pattern will run down the center of both sides. Then I'm layering this textured black and white pattern horizontally across the entire page, connecting both pages. I'm also bringing in a bit more color with some burgundy cardstock, and I'll tuck that between the 2 grayscale patterns to break them up a bit and to add some visual interest. I really like how that looks. I know I want to mat my focal photo on black cardstock. For placement, I'm thinking that one should go front and center on the left side. Then the 4x4 photo will go on the right. They are both facing into the layout, which I like. The 2 3x4s will go right under the 4x4 photo. As for the smaller photos, I'm thinking of nesting them around the focal photo to fill in that space, and honestly, I can't think of anywhere else to put them right now. So I'm loving how this is coming together. I'll go ahead and trim down all the layers, and I'll be right back. And here's what I've got so far. I did shift the green paper down just a smidge on both the top and the bottom, so a little more white background peeks through. Since I'm working again with darker tones, I wanted to create as much white space as I can, just again to give the eye a place to rest. Instead of ink distressing the edges of the patterned papers this time, I'm going to use an older pair of scissors to rough up the edges. While the scissors are open, I'm just going to run the blade along the edge of the paper like this. It's not the nicest sound, so I'll finish the rest of this off camera, but look at all that texture it adds. As for the measurements, the darker DSP is cut to 5 by 12 for both sides. I didn't distress the edges of the middle because I wanted to feel like a cohesive 12 by 24 layout. The burgundy cardstock and the second grayscale pattern are both trimmed to 1 by 12. The green DSP was cut in half at 6 inches. Then I trimmed 2 pieces to 4 and 2 to 1 inch. Then I hope that makes sense. While digging through my stash, I found this border sticker that had all the colors I wanted to bring into this layout. I only had the one, but it was easy to cut it in half while it was still on the carrier sheet with my trimmer. I'll add 1 piece to each side to help tie everything together. Let's try the burgundy cardstock at the top. I'll think about that a little bit more. In the meantime, I want to add some splatters to this page. Pulled out the Elements of Text stamp set because it has 2 great splatter stamps I want to use. I prefer using splatter stamps because they give you more control over where the ink goes. I'm just focusing at the top of the layout right now. Before I pull everything off, I'm using a pencil to mark where the layers were sitting. That way I can stamp in the right spots and I won't lose my place. I'm using Night of Navy and Pebbled Path ink. Both stamps are mounted on clear blocks and I'm placing a few splatters here and there along my pencil lines, rotating the stamp to get some variation. That's what creators call controlled splatter. Now, I did speed up this process quite a bit, but I thought I would add this in just to show you how I achieved this look. I started with the bigger stamp in Night of Navy, then I went to the smaller one using second generation stamping just to add some depth. I stamped off behind where the photos will be placed instead of on a scrap piece of paper, so don't worry if you're wondering what in the world I am doing. To add just a bit more texture, I'm using a stamp from my stash and it looks like textured metal. I'm going with black ink this time, stamping off first, then stamping it a few times around the splatters. It looks a bit like a hot mess right now, but keep in mind you won't see a lot of this once I bring in my paper layers and my photos back in. I think it's actually going to look pretty cool. Okay, so far so good. So while I'm still auditioning everything on the layout, I left the stickers off for now. They are a bit slippery and causing the layers to shift around. I did decide to keep the burgundy cardstock where I had planned to have it originally. I'm going to bring in a black mat for the 4x4 photo, leaving about 1/8 of an inch reveal. Now for the focal photo, I'm using a larger mat, about 4.5 by 6.5. I don't normally go that big, but I wanted to draw a lot of attention to this picture. The larger dark mat really helps your eye go straight to it. To bring in more of that burgundy color, I'm adding another layer behind the photo. This one is just slightly larger, about 1/8 of an inch bigger than the photo. And I'll repeat the same burgundy mat on the right side for the 2 3x4s, trimming a double mat for those. While I was stash diving, I came across these blackboard chipboard letters. Super retro style. These are so old. They're from 2008. I'm thinking of using a one-word title for this layout. Something like crazy or daring, but it didn't have the right letters. So that led me to the word brave. I think it's going to look great tucked into this space up here. Now, if I can find all the letters I need, that is another question. I just need to find that V, and where did that A go? Oh yes, right here. It fits perfectly, adding weight and balance to the layout by bringing the darker color up. And honestly, the word feels right for this story. You'll understand why in a little bit. Now off camera, I think I'll end up trimming about 1/4 of an inch off each end of both the pattern paper and the cardstock. That'll give me a bit of a white border to show through and give the whole layout just a bit more breathing room. I'm also planning on adding a few more splatters to the bottom white space of the layout to mirror what I did at the top. I ended up adding a 1/4 of an inch strip of black cardstock right above the sticker, just underneath the burgundy cardstock. It gives that a nice visual separation between the two, and I think it makes everything look a little bit more finished and clean. I also changed my mind on the burgundy matte I had here. I'm swapping it out for black instead. I like how it keeps things consistent since most of my photos now have a black matte, while the focal photo still stands out with that extra burgundy layer. I'll bring more burgundy in later through my embellishments. Now that I've got my photo mats figured out and my key layers attached to the base of the layout, it's time to start embellishing. I'm using the Forever Forest dies to cut a bunch of pine trees in different sizes from Old Olive and Mossy Meadow cardstock. Both these greens are in that pattern paper I used, so it'll all tie in nicely. There's a great mix of sizes in this die set, so I'm going to go ahead and get all of these cut off camera. My plan is to build a little forest scene at the top of the layout, clustering some of the trees behind the title as well. I usually work in groups of 3s, but since the larger tree will go on either end, I think 2 next to each other might just be right this time. I really like how this is looking. It helps frame the layout without overwhelming the title and ties in that outdoor vibe of the photos. This is what's left of a sticker sheet I've been hoarding for years. A border sticker of license plates, a big license plate that reads, "You are cool," a few washi pieces, but look at this motorcycle. I'm finally using it on a layout. It's from a Simple Stories collection, though I couldn't tell you which one, and this is all I've got left. My goal is to use as much of this on the layout as I can. I removed the adhesive from the back of the bike sticker so I can move it around freely without damaging the page. I want it facing into the layout, so I'm leaning towards placing it on the right side. There's not enough space next to the 4x4 photo without clashing with the tree cluster, so my next best spot is this open area beside the 3x4 photos. That works. There's more than enough room, but it kind of disappears against this black pattern paper. Evan's face shield on his helmet has an orange tint. I think it's supposed to be gold. I don't want to bring in that color of metallic. Orange, though, could work. I'm thinking about using the lighter side of pumpkin pie two-tone cardstock. Stampin' Up is introducing two-tone cardstock across the entire color line soon, and I'm loving how it gives you more color options. That lighter orange is also in the striped sticker I used on the base of the layout. That way it's not just a random pop of color, it echoes other elements and helps everything feel more cohesive. I cut a tag shape out of the cardstock and now let's grunge it up a bit. It's just a bit too clean compared to the rest of the page. I do like having a bit of clean white space for contrast, but this piece is a bit too perfect. So I'm bringing in that same splatter stamp I used earlier, some black ink, and a sponge. First, I'll dirty up the edges with a little ink blending. Yep, I think I'm on the right track. Now for some splatters. Just a few scattered here and there. Perfect. Now I'll clean up my area and I'll be right back. So funny story, I thought I was filming and it turned out I wasn't. So I'll get you caught up as we go. I'll repeat the pumpkin pie color on the left by matting the picture of our cat apples with it. I'll distress the edges with my scissors, the same as I did for the base layers, but add some black ink as well. I attached the motorcycle sticker to the orange tag along with part of that license plate border sticker just tucked underneath the bike. I created another cluster at the lower left corner of the focal photo using the clock, the larger license plate, and the Route 66 sign. I placed a white circle underneath them to help these elements stand out against the pattern background. These are not attached just yet. I am still deciding. And now that I've done all that work, I'm totally not sold on the orange mat behind the cat photo, but I'll leave it here for now and decide later. From the same Close to My Heart stamp set I used earlier for the background, I pulled out the No Fear stamp and heat embossed it in white onto a burgundy circle I die cut out. Now I didn't film that part also to save time. That was intentional. And I'm going to place that beside the 4x4 photo, kind of just tucked behind, to create a third embellishment cluster and form that visual triangle. I grabbed a few more stickers from the same sheet the striped border came from. There's an orangey colored arrow that will pair perfectly with the burgundy No Fear circle. And then there's the On the Go sticker I added to the motorcycle cluster. Also in the missing footage, I used the mini corrugating 3D embossing folder on a piece of navy cardstock just to bring in a ton of texture and interest. I ran it through and cut it into a tag and 2 circles. I tucked the tag just slightly behind the orange tag the motorcycle is on, and then layered the 2.5 by 2.5 photo on top of that. The corrugated circles I created, I'm going to tuck under the burgundy No Fear circle. It's a subtle detail, but it adds a cool layer and texture to the layout. By repeating elements like this, it gives the whole layout a nice flow from one cluster to the next. Now, right now, I'm just auditioning stickers and moving elements around until I like the look. I don't fully commit until I'm sure. Please tell me I'm not the only one who does this. Now, a little backstory of the pictures. Last summer, Evan, my youngest son, started working for a company that specializes in weed control. Basically, he spent the summer traveling around Alberta, sometimes by truck, sometimes by helicopter, to spray unwanted vegetation at well sites, forestry areas, and around different mines in the area. For a 16-year-old, this was basically the best job ever. And actually, he's set up to go back to work for them again this summer. So by August, he had saved up enough money to buy a motorcycle. He picked out his top 3 and made arrangements to go check them out while we were in Calgary one weekend. Okay, back to the layout. I've decided I'm really not liking that orange mat behind the photo of Apples the cat, so I'm going to just remove it. Also, the white circle under this embellishment cluster is too small, so I'm going to try a die cut from the Spotlight of Nature set. This reminds me of road lines, and I think it's going to be a much better size. I'll ink it up and grunge it up a bit, adding a few Night of Navy splatters off camera, the same as I did for the tag, and bring back some of the stickers, removing the sticky so I can move them around without committing. And yep, that is so much better. I typed my journal, printed it on white cardstock, and cut it into strips. Now let's place this arrow right here. Yep, that looks good. I added a black mat behind the picture of apples. Once I had my journaling strips in place, I realized this little spot here is perfect to tuck in this photo, just slightly behind the Route 66 sign. To tie everything together, I'll bring in another corrugated navy circle, and then I'll add this little burgundy one too. For one more added detail, I'm reaching for the Tags to Go dies. I wanted to add a key and a little keychain. The keychain is in Pool Party, which works perfectly since the world sticker on the right cluster and the border around the On the Go sticker are both in the same blue tone. I cut the key out of Pebbled Path, same color as the clock and the motorcycle, so it keeps things cohesive. I wanted to stamp a sentiment onto the keychain. I was originally thinking today marks an adventure, but it was too big to fit. So I went digging through my stash and found one that says, Collect moments, not things. It's cute and it fits, so I went with it. To connect the two pieces together, I'm using some brads from my stash. I have so many of these of all colors and sizes. This is my metallics and neutrals case, and I found these pewter-like ones in a few different sizes. There's a little chrome on the bike itself, but I didn't want to go with anything too bright and shiny. Let's see, I'll bring in my foam mat and piercing tool, and I'll try the medium size first. Nope, that's too big. The smaller one is definitely going to work best. Now, since I have these out, I'm going to add a few more brads to the layout as tag toppers and around the clusters, just to add a bit more texture and use up more items from my stash. I'm covering the backs of the brads with washi tape. When I go to slide this layout into the page protector, nothing will get caught or snagged. Back to the story. This was actually the first bike Evan looked at. It was all he could think about for the rest of the day, even while checking out other options. So this shiny all-black Honda CBR 500 ended up coming home with us. And then it sat in our garage for weeks because Evan didn't have his license or even his learner's permit. And he can't take it off the property. One day, while he was driving up and down the driveway, just practicing his starts and stops, he asked me to snap a few photos of him in action. This is going to be baby steps, I think. Don't get me wrong, I am proud of him for all of his hard work and saving up to buy this very nice garage ornament. It's okay. The longer it takes, the better. I'm not actually rushing to see him riding this on the road. It's enough to be brave, but not too brave. For now, up and down the driveway is perfect. And he's happy with that, so am I. Oh, I wanted to show you the original photo I had taken. He's facing the other direction, and my husband's truck is in the background. The first thing I did was use an app called cleanup.pictures by ClipDrop. It's free unless you want to use the higher definition tools. I'm not sponsored or anything. I just found it one day and thought it was worth sharing. Super easy to use and works well enough for little tweaks like this. Now, it is not perfect, but after I strategically place this sticker here, no one will ever know. As for switching the direction Evan is facing, I use the app Print to Size for printing photos. It's only available for iPhones, but it's super user-friendly and lets me mirror the image before printing. I've used several others, but this one seems to be the one I gravitate towards. I'm really happy with the way that this layout turned out. It's a bit darker than I usually create, but it feels very true to Evan's style right now. And I really think it captures both him and this moment. And hey, I used a bunch of items from my stash too. Even better, today, the day this video goes live, is Evan's 17th birthday. Happy birthday to my baby boy, who's not really a baby anymore. I just love how the title area came together. My journaling talks about how Evan saved up to buy the bike when the photos were taken, and how funny it is that even now he still doesn't have his learner's permit to ride off the property. I hope you found some inspiration in today's video. If you did, I'd love it if you gave me a thumbs up. And if you haven't subscribed yet, please consider doing that. I share a new video every week. I love hearing from you. I really enjoy reading all of your comments, and I reply to each one of you as soon as I can. This page really reminds me of why I love scrapbooking. It lets me hold on to these little in-between moments that say so much about who we are right now. And here's a video that YouTube thinks you might enjoy next.